You got us?
Where are the other two?
No.
Good question.
Yeah, and then you record.
All right, I'd like to,
Hold on. I gotta make sure you're live, hold on.
we're gonna go live. You told me.
We're doing it live. Oh.
Good, everyone.
We should be okay, Scott, go ahead, I'll stop you. Go ahead.
All right, I'd like to open the meeting of the Joint Landfill Committee and turn it over to Astrid to take care of the landfill operations.
So for Q3, waste activities, multi-tonnages for July, MSW we had 19,799 tons. For August, 18,116, and for September we had 16,705. For C&D tons in July we had 6,735. For August we had 7,298, and in September we had 7,368. Residual waste we had in July we had 794 tons. In August we had 902, and in September we had 952. We didn't have any asbestos during those months. For alternative daily cover, in July we had 0 tons, in August we had 783 tons, in September we had 0. For sewage sludge, in July we had 824 tons, which is 2.9% for a total waste stream. In August we had 693 tons, which is 2.5% of our total waste stream. And in September we were up 791 tons, which is 3.1% of our total waste stream. Out-of-state waste, in July we had 12,248 tons, in August 12,005, and in September we had 10,997 tons. For recycling, in July we had 9 loads came in. 89% of that was from Woonsocket. In August we had 11, 63% of those were Lower Stockton residents, and in September we had 5, and 80% of those were Lower Stockton residents. All the recycling is taken by Republic Disposal and disposed of Green Star Recycling in Northampton, Pennsylvania. For use submittals, we had Allentown Economic contaminated soil that was approved but not accepted. Another Form U for Allentown Economic contaminated soil that was approved and not accepted. And then we had a Form U for Lehigh Waste Authority with wastewater sludge, and that was accepted. E. Schneider and Sons Incorporated contaminated soil that was approved and accepted. R. Donnelly, which was paper and cardboard waste, was approved and accepted. And then Fuse Environmental LLC contaminated soil was approved and accepted. Our annual groundwater trend analysis, the third quarter sampling event was August 25th through August 27th, 2024. Correspondence reports we sent over on the 13th, this Q2 groundwater report. For landfill operations, our DEP inspections, on July 17th, we had the DEP engineer out, Matt Vygotsky, and July 31st, enforcement was out with Matt Vipon. August 15th, Matt Vipon was out, and August 22nd, and then August 25th, DEP engineering again was out with Matt Vygotsky. September 18th, Matt was out, Matt Vygotsky was out again, and then on September 29th, Vipon was out. Our host municipal inspections, Scott was out July 9th, July 25th, August 1st, August 15th, September 5th, and September 18th. For commercial waste vehicles, in July we had 2,761 total trucks. In August we had 2,740 total trucks, and in September we had 2,479 total trucks. For overweights, in July we had 43, August we had 78, in September we had 42. I guess we'll do one. So for July we had 43 overweights, 29 warnings, 14 suspensions. In August we had 78 overweights, 74 warnings, 4 suspensions. And in September we had 42 overweights with 31 warnings and 11 suspensions. The landfill gas flare is was not the main GCCS anymore, that'd be Archaea. but it continues to communicate. SES still does all the reporting for that. The Archaea plant continues to operate as designed to create renewable gas, RNG, and send it to customers. So July average flow was 4,075 SCFM. All shutdowns were related to manual shutdowns by RNG plant for startup or for RNG plant maintenance. Total downtime of the flare was 137 hours out of 744. And the total downtime of the gas system was 3.9 hours out of 744 runtime hours. August average flare flow was 3,693. Total downtime for the flare in August was 717 hours out of 744. Again, in the meantime, the rest of the gas is going to Archaea. Total downtime for the gas system itself was only 14.5 hours out of 744 total runtime. September average flare flow was 3,758 SCFM. Total downtime of the flare for September was 714.5 hours out of 720. Again, everything going to Archaea. September reporting for the plant was not prepared yet. The person who puts the reports together for Archaea, I guess, is based out of Florida, so obviously they got hit with the hurricane, so they were delayed. During Q3, North Slope Road has not needed repairs. The soil has not needed repairs. The abatement system continues to operate and discharge to the system Bethlehem wastewater treatment plant. Leachate collection system, water carbon continues to discharge pre-treated leachate to the wastewater treatment plant. For radiation monitoring, there was one radioactive load alarm in August. So August 13th, radiation alarm detected. Truck was scanned on the date and determined to be iodine 131. Load meets permit limits and was disposed of on site. Currently, our waste operation is in the northern realignment. And then the complaints are attached.
Quick question. Just a quick question on the overweights. Was it a lot of rain in August? It just seemed like
It wasn't
a double.
It wasn't a big job, it was all the same truck company, so. There was only 4 suspensions, I'm thinking they came in the first day probably overweight, and then once they got warm, they got right.
Can I just ask that the record reflect that I'm here late, so I have, can I have the record reflect that I'm here? Thank you.
Okay, we'll go over the post-municipal inspection, odor observations and nuisance issues. July 9th, 2024, an odor was detected along Butter Road through Steel City or along Riverside Drive, and the bird population at the landfill at the working base was minimal. July 28th, 2024, the landfill gas odor was detected along Butter Road between Red Barn Auto and the Krasinski property. And again, the bird population was minimal. August 1st, 2024, no odors were detected along Butter Road. Bird population was minimal, but there were about 6 to 10 vultures that were flying over the working face. But just to know, since it became an issue at one of our last meetings, I figured I would add that as an observation with the vultures. August 5th, 2024, a slight landfill gas odor was detected along Apple Butter Road between Ringhofer and Krasinski before and after the landfill inspection. Again, the bird population was minimal. 7 vultures were observed flying over the workspace. September 5th, 2024, slight landfill odor was detected along Apple Butter Road between landfill entrance and the self-storage units before and after the landfill inspection. Bird population was minimal. September 19th, 2024, slight landfill gas odor was detected along Apple Butter Road between the landfill entrance and Ringhofer Road. After the landfill inspection, the slight odor was detected along Apple Butter Road between the self-storage and the landfill entrance. The bird population was minimal. No vultures were observed flying over the working face. Status of action items, July 9th. Placement of 12 vertical gas wells in the cap southern end of the cell SE2AB had started, and that construction has started. 5 wells have been installed as of that time. Repair of the perimeter fence and remove tree along northern landfill perimeter road, that was completed. Sedimentation trap A and PDS permitting, that's ongoing. The northern edge of the access road between the Arcadia Energy Plant and the southwest corner of cell SE2AB, erosion need to be repaired. That is to be completed. Removed recently accumulated sediment from around the leachate storage tank. Sediment basin should containment basin, not sediment basin, sorry. That was to be completed. July 25th, 2024, placement of 12 vertical wells in the cap southern end of the SE2AB. The construction of the 12 wells has been completed, and connection of the collection system is ongoing. 7 trap A NPS permitting, that still needs to be completed. The northern edge of the access road between the Arcadia Energy Plant and the southern corner of SE2AB erosion that needed to be repaired was completed. Remove sediment, accumulated sediment around the leachate storage containment basin, that was completed. August 1st, 2024, placement of 12 vertical wells at the southern end of the SE2AB. Construction of the 12 wells has been completed, and connection of the collection system continues. Sedimentation trap A and PDS permitting is still to be completed. The northern edge of the access road between the Arcadia plant and the southeast corner erosion, that was completed. The erosion rill in cell 4E along the western shoulder of the north to south access road from the office to the top of the landfill, that was completed. Placement of 12 vertical wells in the southern end of SE2AB. Construction of 12 wells have been completed. Connection of the collection system continues. B, sedimentation trap A NPDS permitting is to be completed. Still ongoing. The erosion damage to the northern shoulder, I went over that one before, between Arcadia and SE2AB, that was completed at the last inspection. And the erosion rill into cell 4E off the western shoulder of the north access road from the office to the top of the landfill, that's still needs to be completed. Placement of the 12 vertical wells in the cap southern end of SE2AB, that part was completed. The sedimentation trap NPDS permitting is to be completed. The erosion rill off the western shoulder north to south access road north of the office, that work was completed. And final cap installation between cap phase 3 and cell SE2AB, that is to be completed. September 9th, placement of the 12 vertical gas wells in the cap southern end of the cell SE2AB was completed. Sedimentation trap A NPS permitting is to be completed. The erosion rill off of the western end of the north-south access road, and that work was completed last time. Final cap installation between phase 3 and cell SE2AB is to be completed. It's not known here, but I was out doing an inspection today, and all the final grading on that has been for that cap has been completed, and the capping, police pastor said to start next Tuesday or Wednesday.
For Rousseau?
It's between cell 3 and SE2AB. It'll be the southern face. You can see the work from that railroad going on. DEP inspection reports, violations that DEP noted, July 31st, 2024. There were no violations noted. DEP noted that Bethlehem Landfill has responded to the May 10th, 2024 LOV generated by their April 17th, 2024 inspection by sending daily photos of the working face at daily cover. DEP noted the BL has responded to the February 8th, 2024 LOV regarding fugitive air emissions by proposing to drill the 12 new gas wells in the southeast corner of SE2AB. August 16th, 2024, no violations were noted. Again, DEP notes in that report that BL has responded to the May 10th, 2024 NOV generated by the April 17th, 2024 inspection by sending daily photos of the working face daily cover. DEP noted that BL has responded to the February 8th, 2024 NOV regarding fugitive air emissions by proposing to drill 12 new wells in the southeast corner of SE2AB. August 22nd, no violations were noted. Again, DEP noted that BL responded to the May 10th NOV generated by the April 17th, 2024 inspection by sending daily photos of working face daily cover. And DEP noted that BL responded to the February 8th, 2024 November NOV regarding fugitive air emissions by proposing to drill 12 new wells in the southeast corner of SE2AB. DEP observations. In the July 31st report, no landfill odors were detected. Trenching was occurring at the top of the southeast slope, and moderate to strong odors were detected in the area of the work, from the work. Some intermediate cover was degraded and flagging was observed on the north side of cell SE2AB. BL provided photos by the end of the day showing the corrective action was taken. No leachate seeps were observed, and no significant bird population was observed. August 16th, a moderate persistent landfill gas odor was detected on a countryside lane north of Easton Road. The odor may have been from trenching that was occurring on the south slope. Some rilling and flagging was observed on the north slope of cell SE2AB and on a small graded slope adjacent to the working face. August 22nd, 2024, a slight intermittent landfill gas odor was detected briefly along Reddington Road. Light intermittent garbage odor was detected briefly on Countryside Lane. A slight intermittent gas odor was detected at the top of Sherry Hill Road near Applebutter Road, and a moderate persistent landfill gas odor was detected along Applebutter Road from Sherry Hill Road to the self-storage facility. Flagging of the intermittent cover was observed on the upper access road from cell SE2AB west to the new disposal area at NR1. DC Rauscher has finished redrilling 11 new wells, and the 12th well should be finished by the end of the week. The daily cover photos from 9/4 to 9/5/2024 appear to show uncompacted waste and/or waste that may not have been completely uniformly covered by the ADC polyshelf cover. And that concludes DEP's inspection reports. You're getting dry now.
What's that?
Any committee questions?
I have a question.
But we'll get to the audience after this.
No, I think this was very thorough. Thank you for putting the information together. I don't have any questions at this time.
Yeah, I just have a couple questions. It seemed like, in the August DEP inspection, August 16th, 2024, and then August 22nd, 2024, it talked about the moderate persistent landfill gas odor, that the DEP inspector observed or smelled, I guess, during his inspection. The August 16th one mentions that the odor may have been from trenching occurring at the south slope. Can you provide some background as to what was happening on the southeast slope during
Yeah,
that
so
time?
when they were drilling the wells, when they drill them in, they have to connect them to the header line. And a lot of the header line they dug up, like they trenched to put the header line in the ground to connect all the wells together, to get vacuum to the wells.
Okay.
Which goes back to the observation where he mentions the flagging up there, because when they were trenching it, obviously they picked up garbage and they didn't recover it. They just kind of put it all back, and so we had to go back and clean all that up. But that's what that flagging is from the trenching.
So the second, from number 2B of the August 16th, you're talking about the milling and flagging of waste, that you said was also because of the trenching?
Yeah, because they get all up, they put the pipe in the ground, and then they just took the same material and put it on top. But they,
Okay, but nobody's impacted it?
yeah, they did, sometimes the contractor will make sure it looks nice before they leave, and these guys just do it on there. So we had to go back and cover it ourselves, and we hadn't gotten to it by the time we got there.
Okay, when did they do, can you say, like, from, this inspection was August 16th, can you say when the trenching, they began the trenching in that area? What day in August, or was it July?
I mean, that whole project was going on most of the summer with the drilling of the wells and putting the header line in, so I don't remember the exact dates.
Do you know if it was in July, the trenching? I'm just talking about the specific, the trenching. Did the trenching occur in July or August?
He observed it in August, right? Was that when he did
Well, he observed the trenching in August, but I
it? It
wanna
sounds like it happened in August, then.
Well, I want to know if you know when you observed it. Did you observe it separately from when DEP observed it?
I mean, the project was going on for months, I'm sure there was trenching in July, trenching in August.
But you can't say,
What is it you want, what is it you really were trying to get to?
I would like to know when you knew that there was trenching.
Well, I knew when he's observed it, I knew it was going on, but it's not just like a one-day project, it's going on for like a month.
Okay, and then you had identified that, that the issue with the rilling and flagging was because the contractor didn't come
Yeah,
back
as they're
to
putting the
waste
dirt
and
back.
finish that day.
Yeah.
Was
And
that
we acknowledged that to
from
Matt when he came out as
August
well.
16th, or like, was that garbage that was exposed on August 16th, or was that, can you say? That's my question.
Yeah, it's probably from the day, well, no, if you'd seen it that day, then it wouldn't have been from that day, it would have been from like the day before, or the day before that.
Okay. Do you have like I know that there's a contractor that was out there, and I'm assuming I think they're still out there, they're still doing stuff out there. Do you inspect what your third-party contractors are doing when they're there?
Yeah, we do.
Do you go by like the end of the day to see whether they've done the proper, work for the end of the day so that?
Yeah, that's how we knew that's what the flagging was from, when he observed it.
Okay.
Because we knew it was from that, it's just, things take time to get to as well too, it's not like it happens and then we went over there another 5-minute job, like, we gotta haul dirt over there, we gotta push it, spread it, track walk it in.
Yeah, I'm just hopeful to see if there's a way you could have a policy, so like when you're doing repair work, somebody from Bethlehem Landfill could, at the end of the day, check your third-party contractor, and if they didn't do it, require them to do it before they leave,
Right.
or you guys perhaps remediate yourself that way. When the DP comes, you said this might have been a day, next day, or the day after, like we wouldn't have a situation where there was the observation. So like we could correct that proactively, like if we had a policy in place where like somebody from Bethlehem Landfill inspected it, since it's your contractor, I'm just curious if that's something that you guys would be open to doing, instead of waiting for the DEP to observe it.
Yeah, we didn't wait for them to observe it, it just he happened to show up when we hadn't gotten to it yet. But now we're sitting around waiting for Vipon to come around and tell us what to do.
Well, right, but I mean, you're saying
And
that
there's a CQA guy that it kind of helps manage like any of those major projects, like the temp capping or the well projects or the self-construction, so. I mean, those things are in place, but they still, even if we acknowledge it at the end of the day, it still takes time to get to.
Well, I guess that's my question, is there a
Right.
reason why, like if you guys inspect the contractor's work at the end of each day, and you notice that they haven't compacted the garbage, is there a reason why
Well,
you can't
we
do
do
it
the
that day?
compacting of the garbage, this has to do with the well work.
Well, it says that the garbage was.
Well, that's a different observation, because what he noticed was the trenching and then the flagging and that section, which was from the trenching. And then there's also, and then he mentions the compaction from the pictures, which was forced too, and I pushed back on them about that. Because what they're seeing in the photos of the foam were like mattresses, foam items that don't compact. And then also too, when you go into a new cell, it's in our permit that you have to do an 8-foot fluff lift where you can't take anything, you can't take the compactor on it, so you can only use the dozer. We can't actually use the compactor until we hit 8 feet, which is another thing that we reminded the DEP of. That's in our permit.
So, are you guys, at this point in time, contesting the, observation, I guess, for the daily cover photos of 9.4 and 9.5?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Have you received a response at all?
Yeah, they just kind of dug their heels in the ground about it, of just, to make sure that the guy, tell the operators at the end of the day to, I guess, make sure it's, I don't know, like, they didn't really give me anything clear. I told them, if you look at the photo, you see mattresses, couch cushions, stuff that is foam that doesn't compact.
Okay.
And just so you understand, Victoria, when there are observations, there are conversations that happen during the course of the
Yeah.
inspection,
I mean,
so.
we're with them when they do the tour, so.
Sure, no, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to understand, since there was a differing, opinion, I guess, about what was happening based upon the photos, what, if there was an ultimate agreement between the DEP and the landfill?
No, and so I mean, basically, like, with that, I just, I try to get the guys to make sure they, I guess, because generally what I would do is take those mattresses, and what I was trying to teach the guys to do too, is take all that stuff that doesn't compact, kind of put it to the side, and then when you start your new lift, you put it on the bottom. Because those things will find their way to the top, even with the dirt, because again, they don't compact, so when you try to cover with dirt, they still pop through and other stuff, so it's just, but at that point, it's just daily cover, you use the foam, and the foam kind of masks the shape. So when you put the foam down, it covers the trash, but you can still see the shape of those objects if they don't compact. So that's what they're looking at. I mean, again, we have, 2 D8s up there and a D7 on top of the trash all day long, and an 836K, which is one of the larger compactors. We're compacting trash all day long.
Okay,
So I do get frustrated when they say trash and compacting, because that's all we do all day long.
but there's an issue with the mattresses that they just don't.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's foam, right? I mean, so if you press foam down, it's gonna pop back up.
Okay. And you're saying like right now that you do have a policy where you're checking with your third party, people at the end of the day that they're complying with the requirements that you have to have compacting and
Yep.
cover?
Oh, no, they don't do the compacting and cover, we do that.
You do that, okay. So in the event, like moving forward, if we see the wheeling and flagging, when you do your inspection at the end of the day, is there something that would prevent that from being taken care of that day? That you see it?
But just time, I mean, we do our daily inspections right now, and we, as we see the flagging in a daily inspection, we note it, we let the operations know, and then when they fix it, now we take pictures and log all that stuff too.
Okay. I think from at least my perspective, it would be helpful if we try to rectify that. And not saying you're not trying to rectify it, but I think if you're leaving, something exposed for a day or two.
Well, it's not exposed, it's just mixed with the dirt, so that's why they call it the flagging. It's not
Well,
just like
whatever it
over.
is, it's not what it's supposed to be. So I guess what I'm trying to say, if we know it's not what it's supposed to be,
Mhm.
if there's a way to address it that day, or, the morning after, because from my perspective, when that stuff is left like that, it leaves a concern, in the community about what's happening there. And people don't have the expertise that you have, they don't have the expertise about where odors are coming from or why things happen, like with the mattresses. But if the more that we can be proactive about it with some kind of policy like that, the better. So I was just hopeful that, you would be receptive to doing
Yeah,
something like
For
that.
sure.
Okay.
And just to be clear, the policy is that that they inspect all third-party work, and when they see an issue, they go in as soon as possible, and there's corrective action. Just so to clarify, you're asking that
The
that
as
all
soon
be
as
done by the.
possible part.
Well, I think it's also done as soon as possible, so, I mean, I think they get to it as soon as they can get to it. So I'm not sure what the difference in the policy is that you're requesting, just so that we all understand.
No, if the policy is as soon as possible, I think, you know, correct me if I heard you wrong, but I think that you said in this specific instance, the flagging would have occurred the day before or maybe
Well, I think
2
they
days
would-
before. And so the issue is, how do we define as soon as possible? Is it within 24 hours? Is it within 48 hours? Is it within a week? If we could define those things, we could then better address these so that we don't have them moving forward. Or that if they do, it's because you're still within your window of addressing it ASAP. Does that make sense to you?
I mean, I think it's, respectfully on that, as far as the timeline, I think sometimes that's tough because there's a lot of different variables, right? People go out sick, people take vacations, there's weather, if it rains, you can't put a dozer on the side, you're just gonna make it worse. Right, so if it, say, that happened, it rained, now we gotta let it dry before we put, PCL iron up there to track walk, because then we're just gonna bring more waste up and more flagging and make it look worse, so we kinda, and then the dirt that we use, I mean, Matt would know, right, if it rains and your stockpile's wet and you go try to move that dirt around, now you're just moving mud around. So there's, it's not as simple as just run over, and again, that's what I was saying, it's not like a 5-minute fix. And even when he was out, they're still trenching while he's there. They may not have been in that specific area, but up top, they were still trenching across the whole thing, right? So, I mean, I appreciate what you're asking, and trust me, there's a whole DEP book of regulations that requires us to do all that stuff, and that's why we get these surprise inspections, and the DEP engineer comes out, and we have to do daily inspections, Monday through Saturday that we do, and weekly inspections that we have to do, and we have to take pictures now of both the problem before and the fix afterwards. That's in our, so I mean, there's rules. But again, it's a surprise inspection. If that happened the day before and he shows up the next day, then yeah, he's gonna observe it. So, I mean, again, I appreciate what you're saying, but, we are doing our best to.
Okay, I think maybe that's something we can discuss with the DEP, because if the DEP indicates that they inspected and they saw this, and I know that there's conversations that happen, because you're there with them, and you say, well, we didn't get to it because we had a rain event, or there was this thing that prevented us from doing it. If they note that, that would also give us some clarity as to why it's there. And if the DEP accepts that as, a justification for why it's not there, that would be helpful to know. If they're contesting that, it'd be helpful to know. So I guess that's just something I think.
I guess if it was a problem, eventually I'll get a note before. So I don't know if there's much to communicate with them.
Well, that's something I think we just have to investigate. The other thing I wanted to, and to look at is I know we talked about, the water monitoring that occurred. My understanding is that the water monitoring occurs on wells that were drilled to collect, leachate that's happening on old parts of the landfill.
Wait, what? Say that again?
Is this something that we discussed here, or is this?
Yes, this is your
discussion?
this is your August 12th, 2024.
They were not drilling
Quarterly.
wells to test leachate.
No, the wells were drilled to collect the leachate from the unlined,
No,
the old sections of the landfill.
you don't drill wells to collect leachate. You put in leachate headers and you build the cell.
The wells that were drilled were for gas.
Oh, okay.
I think she
Okay.
meant the groundwater.
I'm talking about the groundwater monitoring report, August
Wells.
12th, 2024. It's in the report.
Oh, okay, of course.
Sorry.
Figure out what you're referencing.
So, all right, so, I'm just gonna try to read a couple portions of this. I think it's, helpful. I know we don't have it in,
Can you
they
reference where in this packet you're reading from?
it's not in the packet. You referenced that you received the Q2 groundwater monitoring report.
sent
It's
it
in your
I
list.
sent it to you guys on.
Right, so you mentioned that you provided the quarter two groundwater report, okay? Roman numeral 3, correspondence
Yeah.
reports, 8/13/24, quarter two groundwater report.
Right, that's the
So-
sample of groundwater.
Right, so I just wanna talk about that, because I don't think a lot of people understand what that is.
Right.
And I think it would be helpful if they heard from you, or heard from us in general, like what's happening there, to clarify any questions that people may have about that. Because people wonder, why are we testing groundwater, what's going on, what's happening? So I'm going to try my best to explain at least what I understand it to be, and if it's wrong.
Well, maybe it's
Yeah,
better.
just
if
correct
Alfred
it.
Just want
explains
Scott,
it
right?
rather
Okay,
than
so then if you want to explain what's going on with the groundwater testing, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the groundwater monitoring goes, they usually drill wells upgrading, which is before the water gets to the landfill, and then after, down gradient, after it passes through the landfill, to ensure that there's no contamination of the groundwater.
Okay, so the groundwater monitoring that occurs, can you explain where that happens?
The wells that are drilled upgrading and downgrading.
Okay, so this, I was trying to say that, at least in the report, it discusses sections of the landfill that are older sections of the landfill. Can you talk about those groundwater monitoring wells,
Is
where
there,
they are?
I think it was like down gradient.
Well, the downgraded ones are all,
It's like
there's,
6 and 7, I suppose.
well, there's a whole row of monitoring wells and
Stop
pumping
your
wells.
microphone. Well, I see abatement wells, though.
oh yeah, there's.
But there's abatement wells there pulled from the groundwater, and those get tested. But then there's also
That's
That's
the
to
pump
keep
and
the-
treat.
pump and treat system,
Tree, the abatement.
and then,
How many total wells are there? Groundwater wells?
what,
Just a lot.
It's
We
like-
get that number for you.
Isn't there like 38,
More than that.
more than that?
Yeah, it's quite a bit. I don't remember the exact number off the top of my head.
These are,
but they're all over the back along the northern perimeter road. There's some back along there, there's some along
that
the north.
northern perimeter is the top.
That, yeah, where the fence,
You're on Apple
yes.
Butter Road,
Yeah.
at the very top of
There's
it.
some along there, there's, I think along the east side.
That's
on
up
the
Apple
west
Butter
side.
Road, the east side. of
The east
city.
side is, yeah, when you face Apple Road, the right side.
To the right
left.
side.
I
Right.
mean, generally, anytime there's any kind of monitoring well, be it water or gas, it's gonna be around the full perimeter of the site.
And there's a full groundwater monitoring plan that the DEP approves for any expansion of the landfill. So that plan has changed over time and wells have been added, and some wells get decommissioned as you place waste in an area where waste wasn't before. So it's a detailed plan that evolves over time under
Okay.
DEP regs.
All right, so I guess what I think, I just had a few questions about some of the things that were in this report, and I'm hopeful that you can provide some context. So they first start off with well CO-1. Can you say where that well is?
It's easier if you look at the landfill like a box.
I'm just trying to think of the map in my head. Let's see. I think that's on the southeast. Or it's in the parking
Yeah, I mean, again, there's a lot of wells, so, I mean, what's the concern with that well?
Well, it talks about nitrate concentrations, and it says the increased nitrate levels are likely the result from oxidation and ammonia nitrogen levels following the capping activities of the 1990s. That's why I started off with, I think that this is related to, well, some activity in the 90s. So that's where my question was. But I wanted to know what your understanding of that, where that well is and what's causing.
Yeah, I mean, if it's from that, then that would be in the older portion of the landfill, which is why we have those abatement wells.
Yeah, the initials used to mean something, and I used to know what that meant.
It says turbidity, if I pronounced that correctly, was elevated this quarter in CO1 due to noted issues with a dedicated pump and pump removal during sampling. which resulted in elevated total iron and manganese levels.
That would just be, so as they're moving the pump, they probably kicked up soil, and that usually would, deal with the turbidity and the iron.
Okay. Can you tell us what turbidity is?
Turbidity?
Turbidity, there you go, thank you.
I don't know, to
So
explain it. I know what it is, but I don't.
turbidity is just the clarity of the water.
Okay, so the clarity was it says
I mean, if you kick up
turbidity
debris,
was elevated, so they're saying that, like,
if you kick up debris, the water is gonna be slightly more.
Or
turbid,
cloudy.
yeah.
okay, so
So
it's
that's
cloudy.
all.
Okay, so that's what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Turbidity is a measure of how cloudy or murky a body of water is and caused by particles in the water.
Thank you. Thank you. So then it talks about road salting impacts. Is that road salting, it says for cell 2, or well 2DS, BL-2DD, and BL-13D are adjacent to the main access point of the landfill. Are they talking about all along Apple Butter Road there?
No, that's all the groundwater is within the perimeter of the landfill. There's nothing on Applewater Lake. So what they're talking about those are the nearest to the entrance of our facility. There's 2 minor wells that are in like the parking lot of our area. that they-
Okay, so are they saying that you're, like, when you salt for weather
Correct.
events?
Yes.
And so this was just this was an August 12th report. So, is it expected that you would have the salting impacts in August?
No, that's a Q2 groundwater report. We got it in August.
But Q2 is for what period?
Q2.
Right, which is like
May,
April, May. So do we have, was there snow events in April and May that you would have had?
Right,
to
you're gonna have
salt?
road salt.
You're in Pennsylvania.
You're gonna have road salt and salting from the prior months there.
That's
It's
what I
gonna
was-
eventually work.
Okay, that's what I was trying to understand is like, what is the
It could have been
overall?
remnants, and then I know at one point we did have a very small pile of salt that was in the front, just from that, I mean, it could have rained and we just took that pile up top, but at the time of the sampling, it could have rained and whatever was left on the ground.
Okay, and the reason why I'm saying is because it says the chloride concentrations in BL-2Ds are lower than previous elevated levels, with second quarter 24 results still above the secondary drinking water standard. So my understanding is just overall the levels that would be permitted for secondary drinking water standard are still elevated in that area, and that are those wells going back to the 1990s also?
To be a-
Well, I mean,
Was the front, right?
yeah, it's
So
the very
they-
front, which would be part of the older section of the landfill, because it's where.
I would say that's-
Oh, sorry. Yeah, that would be located near the older cells.
Okay. Do you have any idea of how, how much longer you think that's gonna be elevated?
Well, yeah, the levels have gone down historically, and when you look at these reports over time, and that's the trend that all of the experts are looking for, and, those, we don't know how long those abatement wells will be in place, but there's no plan to take them out anytime soon.
Okay, so then like BL-13D, where is that?
I mean, again, I don't have the location of all the wells, remember?
Okay, do you know, Scott?
No,
Okay.
There's a lot of wells.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so that one says the total iron, total manganese,
Like right here.
and dissolved solids, TDS, above secondary drinking water standards. They said that's normal for the well. I guess I'm trying to understand, these wells, what happens to the water that are in these wells? They're testing the water. Is it being collected somewhere and going somewhere?
No, I mean,
Or
no,
is it
it's
just
not,
testing
it's a
the-
sample out of it. It's
Okay.
just like you're drinking your well at your
Okay.
home. So
Okay,
but eventually, all that groundwater is being collected and basically sucked up by the abatement wells along Apple Butter Road. So that
okay,
any contamination really isn't making it past that
Past
road,
that whole-
past that
okay.
barrier and well in the front.
Okay. And then that's being collected and
Well,
sent
sent to
to
wastewater
wastewater
treatment
treatment
plant.
plant.
yes.
Well, the abatement wells though are for a specific area, below the old landfill.
And that,
They didn't really, the other wells surrounding that they don't really go to the abatement wells.
Because
To
those
get-
are from all line cells, that
Right,
was just a treatment
right.
and line area.
Right.
Okay, so I guess,
those ones near the entrance would be part of that, with the,
so all of these groundwater monitoring wells that are listed, they eventually, with the water that's tested in those wells eventually makes its way to an abatement well that collects it? Or does some of it just, or some of the wells outside of the collection system?
there's some that are out, like, to Priscilla's point, the, you know, the older area of the landfill, they go through all the abatement wells. And that groundwater is pumped into the leachate system and then taken to the wastewater treatment plant, because that's all was unlined area from the older portion of the landfill.
Okay, so I guess I'm getting a little confused. If it is getting collected by some groundwater collective system and then sent to the wastewater treatment plant, that's what I'm trying to get at. Do any of these wells
I
fall
think,
outside of that
I think to
system?
Mary Ann's point, it probably, you want to email their questions, and we'll get back to you. Because again, I don't remember where each one of these wells are.
Right, we don't
We have a lot
have
of wells.
Need to
the
know
well
where
map.
they're located.
Yeah.
We
Right,
don't
right.
know that, you can't
Yeah, 'cause each
say
well is-
exactly
yeah.
which one it is or isn't going to
Okay.
get collected.
So,
As Priscilla
do you
brought
know,
up,
like-
there's some are under abatement projects, so it's like, but I don't remember which ones are which.
do you know if all of your sampling wells, the locations of those I mean, I would think, I know you can't say where the exact location of this specific well is, but can you say generally that all of the water that's tested from wherever these cells goes, generally will end up being collected either as a groundwater collection system or through your other leachate collection system?
No, because I
it's
don't
not
know which ones they
leachate,
are.
yeah, there's
It's
a
not
difference
leachate.
between leachate
Okay, so
and
let's-
groundwater.
okay, so you're saying it's all groundwater.
All
Leachate is not
leachate is
groundwater, two
collected.
totally different
Okay.
things.
All leachate is collected, lined areas of the landfill don't allow water to come underneath the liner.
Okay,
That's all collected, it's sent to the on-site pre-treatment plant, then that goes to the wastewater treatment plant.
okay.
We do groundwater testing
Mhm.
to make sure that there are no impacts to groundwater from the landfill operations,
The current landfill operations.
from the whole
The whole
landfill.
landfill, historically,
Okay.
new
And
everything.
the old ones.
Okay,
And personally, like, I'm not a hydrogeologist, this is why we hire somebody to do this, so the in-depth part, you know, we read those, their conclusions, but if there was serious problems, you know, it would be in that report.
well, he's identifying certain levels of things, and that's why I'm trying
Right.
And
to.
there are levels
That's
of
what I'm
things in
trying-
groundwater that are just background levels, there are from other impacts, so groundwater has a lot of stuff in it. The groundwater, there is no groundwater coming down through the lined areas of the landfill. That comes in as leachate, that gets collected, that gets treated. For old historic areas of landfill that were not lined, because this was before the DEP regs went into place, there were liners put over them, right? So now they're capped, but we want to make sure that any historic waste mass through which water goes, we sample for the groundwater flowing from that area, and that is collected, pumped, collected, treated, sent to the wastewater treatment plant. So if you want.
So I think that might answer my question. So
Okay.
if you have a groundwater monitoring well that's monitoring groundwater, ultimately, it's going to make its way to collection.
No, because we have groundwater monitoring wells all around the landfill, because that's required by DEP regulations.
Yeah,
But, so even in the lined areas of the landfill, we have to have groundwater monitoring wells outside of that, because there are belts and suspenders and all sorts of redundant systems.
mhm. So the water doesn't necessarily make it to the wastewater treatment plant.
What I would suggest, because these are very detailed questions and we can appreciate them, is that when we come here next time, we can bring a map. You may recall during the conditional use hearings that we had a hydrogeologist come in and we had a whole map up there about where all the wells were. So we can bring that kind of map next time and have a more detailed explanation. But it's a little difficult for us to answer questions like that. But what I can tell you is we have a lot of groundwater sample points.
Yes,
We
the
don't
sample
collect all the
happens.
groundwater in the area and send it to the POTW. We do not do that.
Okay, so I guess I like that we're gonna come next time and hopefully have a nice, I think that would be very helpful for everybody to see where all of the groundwater monitoring points are, and then identifying where, if those, I probably will say it wrong again, I'm gonna try my best, but if that water, if you can say those sampling areas ultimately go to a collection site or they don't.
We'll identify where the wells are that go through the abatement system. And that's a plan that, I mean,
And that's
when we have
when you say
findings
the
that-
abatement system, it goes to another well that then pumps it out, right?
Yeah, and the thing is, like, it's a whole system, and I don't remember each well,
Right.
level, each thing, so it's where,
13
yeah, but I'm just saying collectively, like, all the monitoring wells, because I believe we test the abatement wells as well, so, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's sampled, and
Can you, so when I'm looking at a water quality report here, and it references certain elevated levels of different things, can you, identify whether those, whether the treatment at the wastewater treatment plant would impact the levels? Like, would you be able to say that, we send it to the wastewater treatment plant, it addresses this chemical, not chemical, but it addresses this particular, nitrate or,
as Mary Ann noted before, the groundwater does not go to the wastewater treatment plant. The
but some of
groundwater
it
is not
does, some of it does.
And whatever is sent to the POTW, we have a permit and we
Right.
have limits for various constituents in
Right.
our permit. And then they have limits in their output as well.
Mhm.
So whatever they collect within their plant, they treat, and then they have to meet all of the standards.
The
for
standards that they have.
coming
And
out
if
of
the
their-
levels were too high, we would get a violation from them,
Excuse me.
because
Okay.
we sample what goes to them as well, and they
Okay.
also sample it.
But we don't know right now. We have to wait to find out if there are other sampling wells that are outside of that process. That goes through the wastewater treatment plant, they do their certain testing, you have a permit that has certain levels. And the wastewater treatment plant has their own permit with the DEP that has their levels before it gets into the river, right? Is that?
Yeah, I don't
or is
know.
that,
I'm
like,
not sure I
multi-level?
understand your question there.
So I'm gonna get at it, so these monitoring reports indicate certain levels, elevated levels above the secondary, drinking water standard. So I wanna understand if those levels remain elevated above the secondary drinking water standard when they hit the Lehigh River, and they may not if they go through the testing cycle, not the testing cycle, but the treatment cycle that you're discussing when it gets to the wastewater treatment plant. Or if it's a well that falls outside of that process and it just remains at whatever level it is, and where it goes in that instance.
And again, it's
Does
tough,
it go to like the Saucon,
so I
the
mean,
Saucon Creek branch, like where does that water go?
the thing that's tough again with this, without remembering exactly where the wells are, because I remember reading this, is it like, say that's an upgrading well, those might be high, but it might be high before it's even getting to us. Does that make sense?
So if the levels
I
are.
understand.
So without knowing where the wells
Not
are, it makes it
landfill
difficult to answer your question.
You couldn't answer whether the well went to the treatment plant or not.
Well, it's an upgrading well, and it still has to pass underneath the landfill, and then get sampled on the other side. That's what I'm saying, without remembering exactly where the location of the well is, it makes it difficult to answer your question.
So we can do that next time.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also, when a well is drilled, they set up a background. So you know what the background levels were.
Correct. Yeah, like a
If
base.
it's exceeded and what parameters are exceeded.
Correct.
So could we know that too then?
Yeah, I mean, when they drill the wells, generally, they'll have like a base to put it against, right, because it's a new well. So, I mean, Priscilla's correct in that they have to have something to compare it to, right? So just to show that there's either no impact or it's getting better from us. So we could probably try, I talked probably have that
Okay, yeah, because it's just, I question because I'm not sure whether that, all of that information is collectively in one place, so why don't
I would think
we,
it's probably in an application or the DP.
the
at some
original
point.
application?
But we can, I mean, that feels like something we can talk to Todd about it.
Yeah, understanding that you have questions about locations of the wells and you want to be able to identify from that report what's coming from what well and where groundwater's being collected and treated versus where it's not. We can prepare that for the next meeting.
I appreciate that, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll try to move on to the other. So there's another part of the report that talks about MP9D. Second quarter 2024 results continue to show higher sulfate levels that are likely influencing the levels of calcium chloride, magnesium, specific conductivity, and TDS. Also, total organic carbon, TOC, concentrations remain somewhat higher in both wells at levels less than 5 milligrams per one. The change in water quality is likely due to approximately 15 feet of fill material added to the area for construction of the renewable natural gas facility. Do you know anything about that?
No.
Can we ask to get some more clarification on that next time?
Well, I mean, I think it speaks for itself somewhat, and also just to be clear, like, we submit these reports to DEP, and if there are any questions that DEP has about the details of them, then there's certainly a back and forth. You know, we want to provide you with information, but for us to be pulling our consultants in here to give full-blown explanations of these reports, you know, the reports are the reports. I mean, an explanation, I'm not really understanding what you're asking for. Are you asking for an explanation as to what those results are?
Well,
And whether they're
I'm concerned
problematic?
I'm concerned that it says that the higher sulfate level is likely influencing the levels of calcium, chloride, magnesium. So it says something is influencing something else, and then it says the change in the water quality is likely due to the 15 feet of fill material added to the area. So I would like to get more information of what exactly is in that 15 feet of fill material that would influence the higher levels.
Usually soil, but again, look into it, because I feel like when I remember reading that, it was somewhat of like a natural occurring from the ground
The
itself and
fill
being
material?
stirred up. Yeah, it's just dirt. Fill material is just dirt.
Okay.
We're not gonna use, well, one, it's not a lined area, and two, we wouldn't use garbage as a foundation.
Then we also have well MP-10D, capital D, lowercase d, capital A. Second quarter 2024 results have elevated total iron and we go with that word.
Turbidity.
Turbidity results that are likely due to dewatering the well during purging. What is that?
They have to, before they actually pull the sample, they'll pull water out of there to get new, fresh, clean water in well. So they don't want to be taking they don't want to be taking stagnant water out of the well. So they'll pull out a couple volumes of that pipe, that equivalent of water out, so fresh water from around that feed in, and they're getting that clean, a fresh sample, not something that may have been sitting in that well for,
Okay.
who knows.
Because I guess it goes on to say there are no results indicative of modern landfill leachate impacts for MP-10D and MP-10 capital D, lowercase d, capital A. So I guess I'm questioning why this particular monitor says modern leachate impacts. It implies to me that there were some old leachate impacts, modern, old. So I guess I want to understand why that word was used, what they mean by that. Modern landfill leachate impacts, that's page 5.
Which well is it?
This is referring to wells MP-10D lowercase s,
I'm sorry, MP dash
10D capital D lowercase s,
S as in Sam?
S as in Sam, and MP-10 capital D, lowercase d, capital A.
Okay.
Maybe
Maybe you can send an email after this. I'm not following all the letters that you're saying here unless I can come over and take a look at it. If that's okay.
yeah, you can come take a look at it. It's just it's the August 12th, 2024 water sampling report. Okay, I scrolled a little.
This right here?
Yes,
Okay, so
there are no
page
results
five.
indicative of modern landfill leachate impacts. And then MP-10DS.
Got it.
Okay. Okay, so I guess there's a lot more here in this report. When we go to our next landfill committee meeting, is it possible, for us to print, any quarterly sampling results that came out? That way, people, because I know it's difficult for everybody to follow what I'm saying. This is a report the township received, but it would be helpful that would be available to people so they can see it too. The other thing I wanted to ask is, how many, the odor complaints identified in this period, this 3-month period, do you know the odor complaints that are in the log that's attached to this report? Do you know how many there are?
Right at the top of your head.
In July?
There's like the whole packet, so I guess, well, I guess that
There
goes
was
back.
like 138.
Q2 was 199, Q3 was 133. Yes, 133.
Okay, so in Q2, there was 133 odor complaint reports.
No,
Q3.
nope.
No, 199
199, then
versus
130.
138.
So it's dropping.
Yeah.
From Q1, Q1
Nope,
was
from
one? Oh, okay, I'm
Q2
sorry.
to Q3.
Sorry, so Q2 was 199, Q3 was 134.
138, yeah.
38. Okay, all right. I think what would be helpful, because, and I don't know whether our township prepares it or not,
Well, the DP sends that out to all of us.
okay, so, but I feel like when we get the monthly reports, they also put them behind them, and then as they go, they just start stacking them, and the font gets smaller and smaller, I don't know, like, so, if we can grab the report so that when somebody looks at this, they're able to look at the dates and reference the odor complaints in there if they have a specific question or whatever, going on there. How the Archaea plant, I think I noted, I saw some recent report come in that like some of the gas is going to the landfill flare and some is going to and the rest of the gas is going to the natural gas plant, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Do we have any, I feel like the last time we talked about it, there was this whole issue with the third party, the electric.
Yeah, with their compressor, yeah, they've since, per what's been reported to us, that's been squared away with TC Energy.
Okay, so is there any idea on your part when they would be sending more flow? Because I understand you guys are burning some and they're.
Yeah, I mean, we have our flare going just to add more vacuum to the field. But, I mean, they're running full
Okay,
throttle now.
And Esther, when you say add more vacuum to the fuel, it's that so the system operates.
Or to the field, right? So, but yeah, so, you know, again, like those areas where we have the gas generation, we want to be able to pull that from the field, you know, from the landfill. And so, you know, they have a limit of how much they can vacuum, they can supply to pull the gas, and so we're, you know, working together, we're pulling, you know, like 1,500 SCFM to get that in there, to like increase the vacuum to the field, to try to keep the
okay,
gas.
so you're trying to get as
collected.
much gas as you can to
Yep.
pull.
Yep.
Okay, and I feel like I noted, it referenced a new flare, somebody was constructing a new flare, are they doing anything with with the flare?
Yeah, well, so technically with it's in our Title V permit that we have to be able to, say Arcade is shut down, we have to be able to handle that gas by ourselves.
Okay,
So we're adding an additional flare that, knock on wood, hopefully won't really ever run. But say there was something that shut Arcade down, then, basically the landfills aren't running that
you would have two
enclosed flare
flares.
that we have. So we would need to be able to handle that excess flow if needed.
Okay.
Again, like for redundant systems, sort of like the leachate storage tanks that you're required to have on site, which I don't know that we've ever had to store any leachate in the leachate storage tanks. But you have to have a certain amount of on-site capacity.
Are you using the leachate storage plant? I thought you were using them now.
Yeah, we are using this.
Now.
Yeah, okay,
Just because it's going there and then getting pumped over to the PFAS treatment.
right.
And sent over to the wastewater treatment plant.
But
Right.
prior to that, they
No,
were not
until
used,
that
but they're
was
required.
on, they were never been used.
Right.
So, can I just interrupt for 1 second? This second flare, is it up by where the original flare is?
Yes.
So there's, okay, because I haven't been up there for a while.
And that it's not installed yet, it's in the process of,
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
So we have the materials on site, it hasn't been constructed yet.
And I guess that gets me to my last question about the PFAS. So, we had sent a letter, and I'm sure you received it or saw a copy of it, to the Bethlehem Wastewater Treatment Center and City of Bethlehem, just asking about the leachate treatment levels and their testing, because I understand the new permit that you have with the City of Bethlehem requires supplying the treatment results. And in their letter, they also identified that in order to respond to our letter, they would need to get permission from Bethlehem Landfill, because there is confidential information or things to that nature that they're under contract with that they can't supply without getting permission from Bethlehem Landfill. Did you guys get that letter?
No.
Their response or your letter?
We
Their
saw your letter,
response.
we did not see their response.
Yeah, I did not see that.
Okay, Kathy, do you want to talk about the letter that we got back from Bethlehem?
Maybe you could just get us a copy and.
Yeah,
I can send you a copy of that.
Thank you.
yeah, so I would be hopeful to see how we could work together, because I think it would help a lot of people to understand the PFAS. I think people are excited about the PFAS treatment because it's certainly an improvement. And we appreciate that there is treatment happening, but we would really like to be able to work collaboratively with you in understanding what treatment's happening, so we can better communicate and share that information with our residents. So I guess from my perspective, let's share the letter, because you don't know what I'm talking about. So that's the first and foremost, and then I'm hopeful that the next meeting we can talk about that more and see what the Bethlehem Landfill company would or would not be willing to do with respect to sharing some information.
Okay, yeah, just go ahead and send it to me, Kathy. Thank you.
That's all I have today.
I just have a quick question. So looking through these logs, there's a lot of complaints coming out of across the
Yep.
do we think that's coming from more the working phase or the leaks that were happening on the south side of the
I think majority of the initial complaints that were showing up over there from that southeastern corner.
landfill? And right now, that's not 100%, those 12 walls aren't operational or?
No, they're all
right?
online, yep.
Since,
Yeah, I mean, that job was pretty much a completion, we say like early September.
Yeah.
early September.
Yeah,
You guys still run the misters up
yeah,
there?
we do, yeah. We have the vapor system, the misters, and then we actually bought a new misting fan that's a lot larger than the one we had before.
North and south of the landfill, basically, the south on the eastern side,
Did the construction of the NSE berm wall, whatever the heck you want to call it, start yet on the north side? No.
No.
When is that anticipated to start? Because you're filling the cell up now on that side.
Right,
Are you
Yeah,
doing
there's-
it at the same, kind of at the same time?
correct, yeah, so we're filling a portion right now, and then that wall, right now, the earliest anticipation would be next year to get a portion of that wall up.
The total tonnage was less think September, this comes to the end of the month.
Yes.
Is that like intentional, or is that just kind of like the market of what's going on?
I kind of discussed it before, you weren't here when I did, but we actually bought a company called Arrowhead Disposal. So a lot of the New York City waste now, I get like 100 tons from New York City. The rest of it's all going to Alabama by rail.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's a lot of it, that drop there. So, you know, yeah,
I think that was the trend about, the trend looks to be just like about like between 40 to 49%, or just under 50% out of state at this time,
yeah, it's in the 40s.
in the 40s. Okay.
And I would say, I mean, just looking, again, intercompany from out of state is about 100 tons right now. So I would say a lot of the out of state waste is probably coming like Phillipsburg, like somewhat close, but just on the other side of the border.
But, no, I took over. I just,
No, are there any plans to modify the northern realignment? Like, once that starts, that wall pretty much wraps back around the eastern portion of the landfill, correct?
Correct.
So those plans are staying pretty much as is for now? I didn't know what's pending, if there were plans to stop somewhere.
Right now, that's all we're approved for is that, so that's the plan that we have.
And then how many tons are sitting on the western side, if that doesn't get approved, that need to be moved to the northern side still, so.
Oh, that little sliver on the west, that if, that it is proposed as part of the phase
Yeah,
5
yeah, yeah.
expansion. So what happens if there's no phase 5 expansion? So if you have to close.
I don't remember that number off the top of my head. I can get it to you
You're talking about looking at the landfill,
There was waste
where the
that,
water tank is, kind of that side.
yeah, there was waste that was disposed there, I don't know if it wasn't approved, but it was put there. And obviously the western expansion never happened, so there's waste there now that would have to be dug up.
Yeah, there's like a
somewhere
regrading.
else.
I don't remember the specifics, obviously a lot of that went down before I got there, but I do know that there is a regrading that needs to happen over
Like,
there.
we're not talking about like, how many like,
I don't
a
know.
massive number.
Yeah, again, off the top of my head, I don't remember, I don't recall.
It's not a huge area. Oh, I'm
So
sorry.
sorry.
It's not a huge area, and I think it's just a couple of acres that we even needed to sort of feather it down. And that was all approved that way with the idea that it would have tied into a western. So that's why if the phase 5 doesn't go through, then that waste will have to be relocated.
So are we talking like days, weeks, is there gonna be strong odors coming from that once that old waste is exposed?
I mean, if it is exhumed, we do have an excavation plan. But that would be down the road, and again, unfortunately, I don't remember off the top of my head the amount, but.
And the hope is that that doesn't have to happen, obviously.
And then the other huge topic at the last meeting, and I don't know if there was any follow-up on your stuff, was the vultures. I mean, there was a couple people in here talking about vultures. I saw one day at my house where I looked up and there was like a flock of 150 circling. And that was the only time I've seen a couple few here and there, but nothing that massive before.
I started noting it in my report, times I've been out, and honestly, I've seen more on top of the water tower.
Yeah.
Up there.
Yeah, I mean, I think just like doing like odor patrol through like Still City. You know, I know at one point I think I counted like 25-ish on top of the church there.
Yeah.
But as I was telling Scott today, I know like this time of year, especially like the black vultures, they take off when it gets cold.
Yeah.
They take off and the seagulls show up, so, which is why we have the falconer. But unfortunately, the falconer doesn't do anything for the vultures, so. But yeah, I mean, most of the time, I mean, the starlings, to have
So you
population of starlings and vultures.
you chase them off.
What's that?
Do you chase the vultures off? You
No,
see
I
them, you just let them go. You're not doing anything to.
You know, the only thing that I think I discussed this with Russ last time he was here, but the only thing I've come across to get rid of vultures is to hang dead vultures around. And, because I mentioned that, I remember you laughed, because it's like, that's just another complaint, if I start hanging dead birds around the site, you know. So,
Like I said, it was one of those things where you not chase them off the landfill, leave them there. Hopefully they stay there versus going on people's roofs or, you know.
Well, and honestly, I know when I first moved here during the winter, you know, the seagulls showed up during the winter, and I'd asked Chris when he was doing the inspections about the birds, and that was what he said. It was like, yeah, we would like them to they just stay here. And then over the last year, whatever, I started getting complained about the birds, which is why we got the falconer.
Yeah.
And now they leave the site, and now we get complaints they leave the site, so I don't know. Unfortunately, there's not a lot I can do to make
Yeah.
people happy, except for not have wood.
Like I said, that was a pretty discussed topic last time.
Yeah.
Just trying to keep it
So it's definitely, we're more aware of it now and try to pay attention to the population.
brief.
And, you know, we have reached out to Fish and Wildlife in the state and talked to them, and, you know, Scott obviously is keeping track, Bethlehem keeps track. So everybody's paying attention to it, keep track of the problem.
Okay, I'd like to know, I thought we had invited representatives from Arcadia to our quarterly meetings.
Yeah, we reached out to
Is anybody
them.
here from Arcadia?
No, they're not here. We had asked them if they were coming, and Jake was out, but he had asked that we send him a schedule so he can keep it on his calendar.
Kathy, can we add them to the email list, please? And on the agenda item, please, Scott?
Sure.
Whoever does the agenda.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we thought they were.
What, for an actual report, you want them as like,
Yeah.
right?
I would appreciate an update, a quarterly update also, yes. I'm sure they'll have lots to tell us, hopefully.
Yeah, my name is Bob Cameron, I live in Steel City. You can't hear me?
No, we can hear you, but I think they want you on mic.
Yeah. Yes, my name is Bob Kemmerer, I live in Steel City. I was wondering, with the volume of trucks that come into your landfill on a monthly basis, by your reports here, you're looking at roughly 8,000 for that 3-month period of time. Do you check every truck that comes in? You can't possibly do that, can you?
Yeah,
You do? Because I was wondering how you come up with some of these figures that is in those trucks.
as far as what?
Well, like asbestos, you have 0, 0, 0 all the way across. And I was wondering how you come up with that figure.
Because it has to be approved before it comes in. There's a whole process to it. It has to be scheduled by appointment, and comes through special waste.
So you can't say that somebody brings it in by mistake or intentionally and doesn't.
I mean, the operators are trained to look for that stuff when it dumps. And so, I mean, the operators are trained to look for, you know, prohibited items we're not allowed to take. And so they do keep an eye out for those, you know, anything that's restricted waste.
All right, and then also, under the commercial waste vehicles, you have overweight and warnings. What were those warnings for?
The warning, so anything less than 3%, they get 2 warnings. And then after the second warning, then they get suspended.
So that is an issue with weight again, though, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
overweight.
That whole section is about overweights that you're looking at.
And then if it's over 3%, they're suspended right then and there. There's no warning for over 3%.
But I understand how you monitor like radioactive material, I can see how that would work. But I was curious how you would know what is coming in with each one of those truckloads.
Yeah, I mean, the scale attendant's trained to look for things, and then all the operators are trained. So, I mean, that's a compactor guy's pushing it, and the dozer operators, they're seeing everything that's coming out of those trucks.
All right, thank you.
I just had a question about Northern Red Line. I'm from Bethlehem Township, and I do see everything he was talking about. And I'm just trying to understand it, because I'm new to the township. I lived in the city of Bethlehem. I've never used one of these. So I watch it every day. I see it on my side. You guys are all usually south and, you know, the
Yeah, I
other
think
side.
I passed you on odor patrol one day, actually.
So I unfortunately walk my dog, and I have to look at it. You know, any shop right, you know, and any higher level, you can kind of see what's going on. And I actually, since June, when you opened up that site, I can actually see it building higher. And I'm just wondering how, I know there's like a certain amount over sea level you guys.
Yeah, we
go
have a
to.
permitted height.
So like when I'm looking at it, and this is east, like, it's pretty high on that left side. Is that the highest it can go?
Correct.
Okay, so like to the right, where you guys are working right now, this is starting to grow, I can actually see it. But it won't get any higher than
No.
the east, okay, because I see it all, I see the debris and I see the dust and I see, That white coverage was awful, by the way. Like because we see all that kind of where the garbage is. It used to be green or whatever, your temporary coverage. So
Oh,
now
yeah.
you have white now, so it's very obvious. You know what I'm
Oh, the
talking about?
tarps at the end of the day, yeah.
I think they're not as white now, but like in June, it was just like all of a sudden I just
Yeah,
saw
we
white.
bought new ones, yeah, so.
It's pretty awful. I'm trying, it bothers me like every single day of my life. I'm trying to like accept that it's there. When I bought the property over at River Hill, I didn't know that you guys were gonna have this northern extension. And it's, it's pretty awful, just being honest.
Yeah.
I'm really nervous, I never would use one of these, but I'm just wondering, like when it does fill up, like could we not take out-of-state garbage? Because like what happens when, just saying, what happens when it does fill up, which is gonna be in the next few years? Where do we put our local garbage? You know what I mean? Like what do we do then?
Right.
I mean, isn't
That's
that
a
a
great
thought? You know what I'm saying? Like, why are we taking their crap?
I think because it's.
When, I know it's money, I know it's a lot of money.
Priscilla's discussed it before, was it interstate or interstate commerce?
Interstate commerce,
Yeah,
like
so
you
that-
can't.
I know that you have, it was allowed to do that, but I guess my point
No,
is,
I think it would be against the law for me to like
Say
say
not
I
to.
cannot take your.
so like, then we're gonna have to ship our garbage out of state and pay more money. It's just frustrating. I understand we need a landfill, I just feel like frustrated that we're looking at it, smelling it every day,
Somebody has to do it,
and it's
unfortunately.
not our garbage.
I mean, if it's not there, it's gonna be somewhere else, it's gonna be somebody else, there's.
And then, of course, where it's at, it's in the middle
Right.
of the Lehigh Valley, we all see it, we drive from it's just
It's
like,
been there since 1941.
I know.
Yeah.
So it's this northern expansion, I know you don't see it as, I see it, it's really not pleasant.
I see it every day,
I know, I see it every day, I see it every,
except for Sundays.
I see it from here.
Yeah.
And we do start really early, that was my other issue, like, I know it says 8 to 3, and like at 6:30 I'm here and banging it.
Yeah, our permitted hours are 6 to 6.
Yeah, I know, I call. It's just frustrating, it's just.
No, I appreciate
And,
it.
I'm in Bethlehem Township, so I'm not getting any of the benefits, I'm not getting, any tax cuts or any of whatever happens on the other side. I don't want them, honestly, I paid it, not have them. So it's just frustrating, I wish it could look better. I mean, would a wall make it look better, what you're talking about with the wall that's gonna go around? Would we not see the bulldozers and the dust and is there any way to improve? There is, that is an important
When you
thing.
build the wall, there might be times when you don't see it, and, the plan right now is to basically build on the outside first, and then that way we can work in the middle. There are things that we do to try to limit the eyesoreness of it. At the end
there's
of the day, it is
trees.
an engineered landfill.
The
so
trees
it's-
are nice, but
Yeah.
the problem is it's gonna go above the trees pretty soon, because in 3 months, I've seen it grow. And it's almost as high as whatever that dark pile, I assume that's rocks. Kinda,
Yeah, we have a lot of stone over there.
There's like a big
More
pile.
stone stockpile, yeah.
I assume it's rocks, well, it used to be flat over there, now it's kind of becoming higher than the rocks, so, it's happening quickly, is my point, I watch it every
It
day.
does, it goes
It's
fast.
pretty fast, so I'm just worried, because now I see, trucks coming down that left, the east side. So are they dumping garbage there? I see them dumping garbage here, it's just like, it just feels like it's really.
Yeah, we get a lot of deliveries too, like stone for the roads and soil for cover and, materials for the construction, so there are a lot of trucks, coming from all different directions for different projects we have going on, the capping. We had a liner for the temp cap and the final cap, that just came in, so you probably see those on top. Yeah,
Yeah, you see.
I can appreciate it's not the most picturesque, but.
No, it is not. And it wasn't there in July of last year, there were more trees, and it just wasn't there.
It was there.
This northern
No,
realignment just
I
started
appreciate
in
it.
January. So, in Bethlehem Township, I don't think I have, besides, Anderson, I know they have issues with it too, because they have to look at it as well. I don't know, I just feel like, it would be nice to, if you could think about that part of it too, just to kind of, I know it's there, and I understand it's there, but, think about the local people and where is our garbage gonna go when it does fill up from, New York garbage. I think that's important. Maybe we could say, can we get less from out of state? Maybe we could just take our garbage, and maybe then it won't fill up quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I do focus on trying to take more Pennsylvania waste.
I
But
mean, we might not
unfortunately,
need
I
so
can't-
many expansions if we had our own landfill. It's called Bethlehem Landfill. I know it's owned by, whoever now, but, it probably would need all these expansions, and we wouldn't have to go through all this, and it could have been closed, and it could be decaying as we speak, but, we're just continuing to make it bigger and smellier, and
Yeah,
I know, I'm just preaching.
as long as we continue to make waste, we have to have a place to put it.
I know, and I wish there was a
They're
better
gonna be
way.
somewhere, unfortunately.
I know.
Do you get more for out-of-state waste?
No.
I mean, that's good, I'm glad you focus on, us here in the area.
And I honestly really do. So, I mean, I feel like it's more important to take care of what's happening
Right.
locally, but unfortunately I can't. I mean, again, as Priscilla knows, I can't say no to it as against the law. So.
Yeah, I know the cells are being filled, I think she might have mentioned that it may take 3 or 4 years, you said, but from what I'm seeing, it looks like it's going pretty fast, so I don't know that it's gonna be 3 or 4 years, because it's gonna be pretty high, pretty soon.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to be here and listen, I'm just trying to like learn and I just want it to be better for everybody,
Welcome. Thank you for coming.
I just had a question about this, the Pennsylvania garbage versus the out-of-state. I know we delineate that. And do we say, where the Pennsylvania garbage is coming from?
There's DEP, not on this report, but there are DEP reports where it will say how much is from out of state, how much is from Lehigh County versus Northampton County, so there's a whole breakdown of the origin of the waste in those reports. And they're available, I think, on DEP's website.
I think so.
Okay. Scott, is there a way for us to try to incorporate that information into our report?
Reports are out, yeah.
I mean, you just want to break down the origin of the waste?
Yeah,
Okay.
like so right now if we do Pennsylvania waste and then out-of-state waste.
Yeah, we keep track of all that,
If,
so. I mean,
if you
that's-
know,
that's
like
easy enough.
Northampton County, Lehigh County, wherever other locations, that would be helpful, I think, based upon her questions. The only other thing I wanted to highlight is, I know a lot of people say, like, we have this landfill that's been in our area since the 1940s, but it's important to highlight that every so many years, they get permitted. Right now, they get permitted for an area where they are able to dispose garbage, and that allows, that's projected to last X amount of years. Over time, when they get close to filling that area, they will ask for an expansion of some kind. So it's just my opinion, I don't think that it's appropriate to say that this landfill that we look at today is the same landfill that was there in 1940 or 1950 or 1960, 70, 80, 90. The landfill was a specific size and it grew. And I think what I hear from the community is a lot of concern is that there's always this, well, you moved there, you knew this was there. But I don't think people understood that the landfill is X size and it could grow exponentially over time to become something completely different than what you bargained for when you moved into that area. And I think from the township's perspective, that's the same thing we're hearing from the residents, is that concern is that, it was a specific size and it's getting bigger. So I don't
always the
like the
case with-
characterization that it's the same landfill that was there in 1940, because it's not the same landfill that was 1940. It's a whole different animal, and we're trying to work with that, so.
And just to put a finer point on that, the operations haven't changed, right? So it's the amount of waste that we're allowed to bring in and the days and the hours of operation. Victoria is right that the place that we're putting the waste has changed, because as we fill certain areas, we close them, we vegetate them, and then we move on to a different area, the landfill. And it's like the development of any area where you had a field and then you have a warehouse. It's unfortunately part of our world now.
Yeah, it's just a compilation. I think when you have X tonnage of garbage, it emanates certain nuisances because it's that X number. From my perspective, when it grows, there's a lot more tons of garbage that have potential to create all of the concerns that the community raises, including odor and water and, rilling and whatever else is going on,
Just the other thing I saw on the.
Hold on, we need to
When I just looked at the DEP website, just I don't remember what website, but the first thing, paragraph, right on the first page was it should be in an area that's not surrounded by, wildlife and water. And I would think a landfill would be who wants it in the middle of Philly? It should be somewhere we got a bazillion acres and you don't have people. It said that, right on the DEP or whatever, EPA, whatever it is, right there on the first page. And I get it, it's from 1940, but maybe then just close it and put it somewhere else. I don't know, I'm just saying, it's literally in the middle of
well,
Lehigh
it
Valley.
gets closer to the Lehigh River for sure.
It's
over
look
time.
at that first page, it's right there, it just says it shouldn't be anywhere around people and water, it's just, it seems so obvious, and we all know, it's it's an awful thing, and it shouldn't be right there in the middle, and I know we need it, but why can't we just take it somewhere where there's it's these warehouses that are coming everywhere, just go somewhere else, go where there's it's not so populated. That's the first thing you see when you come to Pennsylvania. I didn't realize, on your left, that's the landfill right there, it's just it's just landfill. And then I just drive, that's all I see now. I never saw it before, it's all I see, I can't stop looking at it. Every single day I look at it, oh, they did this, oh, they didn't cover it well, oh, I can see garbage, oh, I see the dust, oh, it's I'm smelling, I'm looking, it's creating such it's stressing me out. I'm my mental health is not. I wish I never moved, actually. I bought this expensive house and I wish I lived downtown in Bethlehem with all the people around me so I could just pretend and be ignorant, but unfortunately I know now.
Does this mean I get the chat?
Yes.
Do I have your permission to talk?
I don't think anybody's granting.
No. Hey, look, I'm not in jail. Anyway. Now that you talked, I kind of forgot what I was going to say. But the first thing you do if you really don't like the landfill is you go to your government. You go to your federal government and you tell them that every state and potentially maybe every county within that state or a section of that state needs to be put in a position to be required to keep their own garbage. Apparently you've never been to the waste management site up in New York where they do trash to steam. I worked in it. And the trucks that come in there, one after another, New York generates garbage like you have no idea. 24 hours a day, all day long. Then trucks are in, trucks are out. Trucks are in, trucks are out. I was under the impression that you guys weren't trucking anything in from New York anymore. It was all going down to Alabama, or wherever you said. Georgia, where's it going?
Alabama.
The reason I wanted to ask you something was the overweight trucks that come in. Do you take the garbage off of them when they come in, or do you reject the whole truck and send it away?
We take the garbage off of them because we don't want to send it back out overweight. And in fact, for example, because this happens sometimes, they come in overweight and they don't have an Act 90, and then they have to sit until they can get some sort of approval from the DEP. And there's times, so we had one, I don't even know, a couple months ago, where we'll take, maybe get an excavator and skim the trash off towards not overweight and then ship them out. And if they leave, we've been told to call the state police, but they're not to go back on the road overweight. So as long as they have their Act 90, you have to take it.
Yeah, maybe if you did so, I don't know, put it in your policy somewhere that any overweight trucks will be rejected.
Well, the problem with that is it would be back on the road overweight. And being it's leaving our facility, that'd make us responsible, but, and again, the DP doesn't want us to
It
do
doesn't necessarily, well.
I mean, it's just something that we
It could
talk about.
potentially make you responsible, but in the end, it's a driver and the loader of the truck that's responsible. As long as you guys didn't load it. And, you know, that would be an out for you, I
You
think.
can't ignore a DEP directive and allow an overweight truck to go back onto the road.
So you're gonna provide a map of the wells at the next meeting, right? 3 months from now? Yeah, it'd be nice like to look at a paper and the landfill and say, well, we got wells here, wells here, wells here, well, this one does this one does this, that one does that. It's out of curiosity. Because I watch the trucks come in and out of my place all the time, the well drillers that were up there in the back. But that's about all I got. But honestly, if you're really concerned, start bitching at the federal government, because the federal government is pretty much behind all the problems that we have in the United States, whether you realize it or not.
Okay, I'd like to add some history here. When the city was selling the landfill, there's a DEP regulation that says they had to redo the host agreement with the township. So we met to revise it, and the language in it at that time said that there was no out-of-state trash allowed, and because it was an existing legal document, that took precedent over the law. It might have been before the law was passed with out-of-state trash. So I voted no to that host agreement, but there was language in there, and if you read the whereases in the beginning of that future document, you will see that they took that language out of there. And then we've had 2 host agreements since then. So in the beginning, it was in there, and majority of councils changed it. So
Because it would be illegal to.
No, Mary Ann, you didn't listen to what I said. The existing host agreement was written before the law, okay? And it was a legal binding document between 2 people that says we could not accept out-of-state waste. Okay, that was.
I understand, I'm sorry, I just wanted to make it clear that the landfill cannot prohibit.
I didn't say that.
Okay,
I didn't say that.
I think from a legal perspective, I just wanted to make it clear
No,
because.
I know what you're doing. So, so anyway, I just want to let people here know that that was the case, okay? That originally back in the early 80s, somewhere around there, had a document that said that. So unfortunately, majority of councils can do things. So, I just wanted to put that on the record. Thank you.
Every time I go over to Texas Roadhouse, I stand on the side of the building and I snap shots. And then when I go work down at the old Bethlehem Steel Coke Works and I go in that side, I go in and take pictures of that. And I got pictures of the trucks and the equipment from this side and pictures of the trucks and the equipment from this side. But it's not gonna, can try and go away, but. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. Fight it. Call your local government officials and bitch. We're finished? Are we done going home, go bye-bye?
I've trying to look at I probably, there was a couple times,